So I'm going to do a test here between an old crusty 7M CPS and a newly refurbished one, rebuilt one, with new sensors that I recently did for a fellow member. So, have my scope set up here. Old sensor will be connected to channel 1, new one will be connected to channel 2. Currently I have the scope set to 2 volts per division. These are both 1x probes. So basically each square on the scope will be 2 volts. So let me get set up and I'll switch over. Okay, we're all set up here. Sorry for the shaky cam. I don't have an actual camera, so I'm just using my phone. So we're first going to test the NE sensor. So that'll be the red wire for both the stock CPS and also for the new sensors. They follow the same wiring color. And yeah, again, so each peak or each reticule on here or graduation will be 2 volts. So we're first going to test the old sensor. Oh shit! Whoops. Okay. Try that again. Okay. So you can view the signal here. So it's slightly more than slightly more than 4 volts peak to peak, maybe like 5 volts peak to peak essentially. So that was the old sensor. I'll just do it again. Okay, so now we're going to switch to the second sensor, so channel B. And we're going to do the new sensor. So as you can see, the new signal is significantly stronger. It is now about 8 volts peak to peak. Sadly, I can't do these both at the same time, but let's go back to the old sensor. The old sensor puts out that signal for roughly 4 or 5 volts peak to peak. And the new sensor it's in there. Yeah, basically 8 volts peak to peak. So much better response. Alright, give me a second, I'll calculate the actual frequency and spinning of these out. Okay, so I put dual traces. It's only going to trigger on channel A, which is the old one, or the new one, sorry. It's only going to trigger on channel A, so when I do the old one, the signal won't be very stable, but we're just looking at the amplitude here. So here's the old one. So about the same thing, 4 volts peak to peak. And now here's the new one. So a much stronger signal. And now let's look at NE. Okay, so to calculate actually how fast I was spinning this, I connected this to one of the NE sensors, so specifically yellow. So essentially it'd be 1 pulse per 2 revolutions of the engine. So if I spin this again here, press down hard. Currently I have the scope set to 20 milliseconds per division. So yeah, it's not showing too great on camera, but as you can see, there's 5 divisions per pulse. So I did the calculations already. So if time between pulses is 100 milliseconds, that means, and yeah, there's 60k milliseconds in 1 minute. That means I'm actually spinning this at 1200 RPM, so measly 1200 RPM. That'd be 600 if it was 1-to-1, but since it's 2 crank revolutions to 1 revolution of CPS, it's really 1200. So ideally I should be spraying this a bit faster, but I think this is good enough test for now. So let's compare the strength of NE between these two sensors. So I'll just up the speed here to get a cleaner trace. So this is the new sensor. I did both these tests on the new sensor. So that's the strength of NE. So yeah, same thing, about 8 volts per division. Let me see how this triggers on auto, actually. Yeah, it doesn't really like auto, it's too infrequent. Let's go back to normal. Yeah, about 8 volts peak to peak at 1200 RPM. Let's do the old one. Okay, so the old one's actually also putting out about 8 volts peak to peak at 1200 RPM. So that's fine. So I'm going to test NE one more time. Okay, so I'm set back up here. I swapped the probes. So the old sensor is now channel B. Yeah, that's this probe, channel B. The new sensor is now channel A, just in case the probe has any effect. But it should not. So same thing, 2 volts peak to peak, or 2 volts per division. So let's see, I'll probably have to up this a bit. I'll just put it there. So let's do, I'm on channel A, so let's do the old one first. I think, no, wait, sorry. Channel A is the new one, so this is going to be the new one first. So new one's still doing about 8 volts peak to peak. Let's do the old one. On channel B. Yep. So definitely weaker signal, about 5 volts peak to peak. Alright, let's just put both traces on the screen and see how it does. Just so I can just switch for that. I'm going to switch the trigger. But it is going to trigger on both. Actually, that's not going to work, yeah. Yeah, let's just do it normally. So one more time. So, new one. Old one. Actually, I had to fix my trigger level. Actually, it wasn't triggering on this one very well. So, yeah. So you can see from this test, you know, at 1200 RPM, this new NE sensor is definitely putting out, you know, a significant amount more voltage, at least 50% more voltage than the old sensor was. Oh yeah, both of these are both gapped at 10 thousandths, so that should not be a variable there either. But this is an old CPS, so yeah, definitely is worth the upgrade. I think to get a stronger signal. Only took me afternoon work to swap in some new sensors, do the wiring, and I kind of went above and beyond with this as well. So yeah, so definitely a worthwhile upgrade. Catch you later.